Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Zone. I'm Courtney Salmon.
And I'm attorney Jason Earnest.
And as you can see, Kirk Vito is not here today. He had some family issues. First and foremost, this show we talk everything fantasy football. And we're going to have a small recap of what happened last week where we were majorly right and majorly wrong. I'm going to start off by eating crow and saying I was majorly wrong about Calvin Johnson. The 1 week I decided to bench him, and he scored a lot of points.
You were, but you were majorly right about sitting the Buffalo defense. That was a good sit. They got destroyed, and you would have been. So it was good. That was a good recommendation. If you remember last week, folks, whoever watched this show, if you did, I wrote down Hopkins, the wide receiver for Houston. DeAndre Hopkins, 120 yards, two touchdowns. I was wrong, 148 and 2 touchdowns. That was dead on the money. I was wrong about some other things, though. I was right about sitting Owen Daniels at tight end. However, I kind of missed the boat with Landry, the wide receiver for Miami. We did talk about Murray, the running back for Philadelphia. He did get more than 20 touches. He had 109 yards and 3 receptions for 14 yards and a touchdown. That was a good start. That was a good recommendation by Kirk for Murray as well. Oh, I said to start the wide receiver Wilson for Chicago. Yeah. Very bad advice. I gave you very bad advice in that one.
Well, you know, it kind of helps that you said DeAndre Hopkins because he was the #1 scoring wide receiver this week. So, yay. And we were also kind of right about the whole Miami Dolphin thing. They revamped their team after they got rid of their coach, and they're looking a little bit better. Lamar Miller killed it for them.
I think the team's are buying into this new program, and this is kind of this throwback to high school type college mentality of being tough, and they showed up. The Miami defense was fantastic. Yeah, I actually told everybody I was going to start the Miami defense. I did, and I won last week in my own personal league. And one other thing I want to take credit for, I did say if you got a quarterback problem, go pick up Fitzpatrick for the Jets. 253 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did throw an interception, but he did rush for 31 yards and a rushing TD. That was a solid.
That's a great performance.
I stand by that. I was happy that I was right on that one. But I made a couple of mistakes too, but I only mentioned one because I have an ego.
Also, another honorable mention would be Blake Bortles. We already said that, you know, if you have an issue with a bye week and a quarterback, pick him up. Chances are he's going to be sitting on the waiver wire. And it doesn't really matter what week you get him. He's going to be a solid double-digit points for you. He'll
be competent. Last week, like we said, he ended up having 331 yards. He threw 3 interceptions, but he also threw 3 TDs. So it's a good, like you said, a good stopgap if you got a waiver issue or a bye week issue at quarterback.
A solid performance, definitely, and somebody that you should pick up if you are struggling. Our first segment we're going to talk about is going to be Stardom, Situm, and it's probably going to run a little bit long. But right now, Stardom, the #1 quarterback to start this week. Who do you think it is?
#1 quarterback to start this week would be for me. Boy, you almost want to start Phillip Rivers, right? I mean, he did 504 yards last week.
Oh my, yeah, he was crazy.
He's playing against the Raiders. They're off a bye week, so I'm not going to say Phillip Rivers. I am, however, going to say at quarterback, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to say Panthers quarterback.
Cam Newton?
Cam Newton.
Well, Cam Newton's my starting quarterback every week, so. And he has done pretty well for me. I'm going to say Carson Palmer, ironically enough, who's the starting quarterback for you.
That's on my team, yeah.
So I definitely would say Carson Palmer. For running back, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say you should probably put Lamar Miller in. He made a killer performance last week, and I think he's going to have a really, really good showing against the Texans, whose defense is not nearly as good as it used to be.
Yeah. I was thinking running back, maybe Tampa Bay running back Freeman. However, they're playing against Redskins. Redskins have a good D. They come off a bye week, so I'm a little nervous about that. I think at running back, I'd probably start, Bell for Pittsburgh Steelers against the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that's what I'd go with. Bell for the Pittsburgh Steelers is who I would start at running back.
Yeah, that's definitely not a bad one. And for wide receiver, I'm going to say Martavis Bryant versus the Kansas City Chiefs because the Chiefs give up the most points to wide receivers than anybody else in the league right now.
I would say the problem is Drew Brees throws to a lot of different receivers, but the Colts' pass defense is terrible. So I want to say a receiver for the Saints like Crooks. However, Atlanta Falcons versus Tennessee Titans. Matt Ryan, Matty Ice can't be beat. Julio Jones. So, but everybody's going to say that. Everybody wants Julio Jones. So I'm going to say Cooks for the Saints.
Cooks for the Saints.
Yeah.
As long as we're going non-conventional here. I mean, if you have Julio Jones, obviously put him in. I'm going to eat crow here and say if you have Calvin Johnson, definitely put that guy in.
Not last week.
Yeah, I know, and I definitely made a mistake with those, 23 points sitting on my bench. I won anyway, but it's still. Okay, and for wide receiver, I also have Allen Hurns for Jacksonville against the Bills.
It's a great start.
I mean, that guy, you never think of Jacksonville as being a strong wide receiving core. You never think of them being a strong offensive team, period. But that guy is putting up some pretty good numbers.
Well, like I said, Bortles, the quarterback, is throwing basically for over 300 yards every game and at least 2 touchdowns. And Hurns is getting almost half of those touchdowns. Not half, but he's always a target. He's getting 9 to 14 targets a game.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I would say for the number 1 starting defense, for me personally, would be the St. Louis Rams against the Cleveland Browns. I think that's a good start.
Oh, I can't argue with that. I would agree with that. I would actually agree with that. I would, in a pinch, if you couldn't do that, I would probably go with, oh man, that's so.
The Falcons over the Titans. That's a big one too.
Yeah, that one too. I want to be contrarian, but it's real hard. And this is a tough week. There's a lot of. I'll echo what you said. I can't really add to it.
Okay, and when we come back, we'll have your sit 'em for the week.